This is Otaku No Video, Episode 12, Manga. Alright, let's get into it. In particular, in a Business Week article, Kadokawa Shoten, which is like the big publisher for light novels and such things in Japan, and where a large percentage, probably a vastly large percentage of anime is based off of the light novels that Kadokawa releases. To give you an idea, things like Full Metal Panic, Dirty Pair, Haruhi, you run down the list. They were all light novels originally with Kadokawa. And in this Business Week article, it was talking about fan-made parodies, and Kadokawa said they don't mind any fan-made parodies of their work. In fact, they regularly scan YouTube for videos that use their works, and Haruhi and Lucky Star were two examples. And they explicitly will only issue a takedown notice on on something that's just a plain DVD rip, where someone just uploaded just the raws to YouTube. And they have actually like spreadsheets of Haruhi and Lucky Star parodies that they know about and they have record of, and they leave alone because they say they want those out there to get fans interested and working on this stuff. They even created their own YouTube channel where they're trying to feature fan-made videos of their own stuff. Unfortunately, most of the times the authors aren't interested in that. But I thought this was very cool of them, and also fairly risky, I think, for them to admit this in a major magazine, that they recognize that this stuff is essentially illegal, but they're okay with it being out there.
I don't see it as being dangerous to say that in a large magazine. I actually think it's very intelligent and savvy from a business point of view to do so.
When you say original authors refuse to let them do it, is that the original author of the novel or of the YouTube video?
No, of the novel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's typically, the person who drew whatever, or wrote whatever, will say, no, I don't want that stuff on the Kadokawa thing, which strikes me as kind of weird.
Yeah, that's an interesting sort of side bit to that, I would definitely say. But other than that, I really feel like, and I feel like this is going to happen anyways, I guess is the best way of putting it, and that you wear yourself out financially by trying to fight your fan base for things that aren't hurting your product anyways. So, since you don't really lose anything, you're better off coming out and saying, no, go ahead. And that way when someone else starts issuing takedowns over completely ridiculous things, then you seem like the good guy, and there's that 5% of fans who are going to go, screw it, I'm just going to buy from these guys instead, because I'm sick of getting crap from the other teams, Yeah. So.
And it should be pointed out that this is fan made. This is things like the Gundam 00 Caramel Dancing video. This is essentially quasi original works using it's AMVs, that kind of stuff. It's not fan subs basically.
Right, exactly. Which is why you really have ultimately nothing to lose by this, because what are you losing? It's not a product you were going to sell. You're not selling AMVs that you're making that the fans are doing better versions of illegally, and you aren't making any money off of them. So, there's really you don't lose anything, but a bunch of people see stuff on your like I go to see a Caramel Dancing kind of thing for whatever Full Metal Alchemist, whatever they do, Full Metal Panic. I'm sorry, I don't know these guys very much. So you go see that and you go, this looks interesting, I might buy it. Mm-hmm. So you win that one, and the other 9 go, oh, okay, and then you didn't lose anything from those other 9. So off you go.
Which, by the way, why do 90% of company-made previews just stink to high heaven?
I was actually just watching in front of Tekken Concrete. They had a trailer for Paprika, which was horrible. And I remember there was a really great trailer that came out just before it actually launched in the US, and it may have been the international trailer. I don't know who made it, but it was fantastic. It used the real music. It was like, it made me want to see the movie 1,000 times. And this was like this. They had this awful American marketing music in it, and it was edited badly. And I was thinking, if I hadn't already seen this, or if I didn't know who Satoshi Kon was, I don't know if I'd want to watch this movie.
Wasn't that the one that literally uses "in a world"?
Yes, it's exactly the one that I'm talking about. Yes, they say "in a world."
Yes. Yeah, well, and we talked about this before, that Bandai actually hired an AMV creator to do their previews, and boy, it shows in a lot of their previews. I mean, they've done some fantastic previews. The preview for Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex is just great, and that's what you get when you get someone who knows how to assemble these things properly.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Speaking of such cool stuff, one of our favorite manga guys, Yoshitoshi Abe, I think he would not mind having fan-made parodies of his stuff up on YouTube, considering he just posted one of his old manga on the iTunes App Store. And it's available in a multi-language format, so you download it and you can switch it between Japanese and English. It's available in 20 different countries, which is kind of cool. The problem is he actually did the translation, and his English is passable, but not that great. So it's a little hard to read. I've actually read this before in the original, and then with a translation, and it's a gag thing, sort of a Nia Under 7 type of story, and it's a little short one-shot thing, but kind of interesting to see someone trying to use something like the iTunes App Store. I mean, not only is it cool that he's releasing it in a multi-language format, it's an unusual place to put it.
Yeah, I mean, that's not the first place I would think of to buy manga or even look for manga or think that I would read manga. And I have to admit that I'm not sure how great I feel about the idea of reading manga on my iPod. Yeah. But still, that said, I think it's kind of cool and interesting and experimental. And they're certainly selling this kind of stuff on, like, the PlayStation Network and Xbox Live. So I guess I'm not surprised someone would give the iTunes Store a whirl on it. I'm glad it's Abe. So that's cool.
It's also nice seeing it. This is basically, I mean, I know he went through someone else to package it up in whatever digital format, but when you think about, a good chunk of that $5 is going straight to the author. That's awfully cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I'm really excited about the idea that there are, the iTunes Store is not quite as open as I'd like, but I like these, that it's a semi-open, you can kind of publish whatever you want to it to a certain degree and sell it. And but a lot of people buy from there, so it's a little less cluttered and more focused than Amazon or something of that sort. So there's a decent chance that you might get seen on there. I mean, look at in the non-anime world, Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog, which was humongous and basically was on their website and sold on iTunes, and has been like the #1 television series download on iTunes for 5 weeks straight or something.
Yeah.
So it's goofy little things can get popular on something like iTunes, so I think it's cool to have that out there. And, whatever he makes off of it, it's certainly something he had already done.
Yeah.
So, kudos.
And it strikes me as certainly something more like a 4-panel manga would work really well on an iPhone screen, where you can chunk that down into very specific chunks that would be readable at that sort of resolution.
Certainly. And the one thing I will say is with the iPhone and iPod Touch, at least, with the touch screen, if you zoom in, it's pretty easy to, trail to the right and left and up and down by dragging your finger, which is still not an ideal way of reading manga, but it's also not horrible. It's much better than it would be if you didn't have that kind of simple interface. And
from what I understand, the iPhone has a particularly easy-to-read, high-resolution screen, especially compared to other phones of that size. So it would certainly be comparatively easier to read even at that small size.
That's certainly true. The screen on it is really easy to get to read things on when you want to. It's a bright, high-resolution screen. I mean, it reminds me of when the Apple LCD screens came out, and for a good 5 years, and even now, they're still the best LCD screens on the market that you can see in a store. You go into a store and every other LCD screen I see is good, but my 10-year-old LCD screen is fantastic, so I'm sure they did the same thing with their iPhone. That's probably going to be the best phone screen you've got. So if you're going to read manga on a phone, I guess iTunes Store to your iPhone is probably the way to go.